The invasive apple snails have finally met their match. When the curved beak of the bird slowly conforms to the spirally shell, just a gentle retraction, the delicious plump snail meat slides down your throat. This is the apple snail's most devout moment. Stone snails are wronged, as the og of picky eaters. Stone snails are known for their temperamental palates. Even with a population of less than 1,000, they absolutely refuse to touch other food. 96% of their diet consists of apple snails. You could say they love everything except apple snails. And their years-long life or death battle with apple snails actually starts with the apple snail's native invasion. Before 2000, native small snails living in Florida's waterways maintained a good supply and demand relationship with the stone snails at the time. Until 2004, the suddenly invasive apple snails, with their overwhelming power, almost swept through the entire southern U.S. waterways. Compared to native snails, the apple snail is 3 to 4 times larger. Its shell is hard and thick, and its opening is also bigger. This left the native stone snails, who were adapted to smaller prey, unable to get a bite in. The total population once plummeted from 3,500 to 700. At the time, American experts unanimously agreed that the stone snail would face functional extinction within the next 3 years. However, the moment of truth arrived. By 2017, the plot had taken a surprising turn. Scientists discovered that the stone snail, which was supposed to be extinct, now numbered as high as 3,000. It had almost returned to its previous peak. After research, a scene that would make even the dead do a double take emerged. In 2017, the stone snail was a whopping 30% larger than in 2004. Even more impressive, its shell thickness increased by a full standard deviation. This turned the apple snail, which couldn't get a bite before, into a crunchy bite-sized snack. Scientists reviewed the whole saga. Oh, it turns out it was just a little chick born in the main group. Its beak happened to be mutated and enlarged when other chicks, or even adults, were struggling with the floating snails. This little guy was feasting on them daily. Plus, compared to native snails, floating snails are packed with more calories and meat. So this chick's adult size was noticeably bigger than its peers. After years of evolution, all the surviving freshwater snails almost have the blood of that one little chick running through them. Regarding this, scientists even gave this rapid evolution a name: phenotypic plasticity. The fine line between external invasion and native evolution is actually not that unfamiliar. Take human society, for example. The most typical is the Shanghai Tesla. But these are all precise products of human control analysis and even policy intervention. Creatures in nature don't play by those rules, unlike us humans. Once they spot an opportunity, they'll seize it with lightning speed and conquer the earth. This book of life and death can be called the troop-spawning demon of the biological world. But in the native South America of the apple snail, the Amazon rainforest won't give it such a chance to be arrogant. The Amazonian giant snail can even eat ancient creatures like the dung beetle, let alone the delicious apple snail. However, after invading, the apple snail's living environment greatly improved. Its size also expanded accordingly. They have an average diameter of 8 centimeters, about the size of a tennis ball. Some even reach 15 centimeters. Their breeding speed is even more astonishing. Each female apple snail can lay 5,000 eggs a year, with a hatching rate as high as 90%. One apple snail can produce 2 generations in a year. Theoretically, it can breed over 320,000 young snails. However, whenever the apple snail wants to surface to lay eggs, circling above the water surface, within 10 meters, the stone snails were as orderly as a ruler. They could clearly see the snail shells moving underwater before it could even surface. The stone snail's claws reached down, but the floating snail had its own survival tricks. As long as it gave up climbing just before the claws entered the water, it could safely return to the bottom. However, fate wasn't entirely cruel. The floating snail's ascent path, whenever night fell, the stone snails stopped hunting. And at this time, the floating snails, taking advantage of the darkness, climbed back onto plants to change their location. Using the thorns on the blind grass, it could quickly reach its designated spot. Tender pink snail eggs were released from its body. A single floating snail could lay hundreds of eggs. By the time the early rising stone snails were already online in secret stoning, they were still fighting with all their might for the last egg. But luckily, just before death arrived, they could finally shed the night's exhaustion, embracing a pool of coolness and